Fair warning, I'm about to play you some tape from Fox News. I'm playing it not to make fun of Fox News, not to play cable news wars, but because I think this is legit news-making stuff that happened on Fox that you should see. Ready? Okay. In January this year, Vice President Mike Pence was asked if there had been any contact between the Trump campaign and Russia during the campaign. A person who believed that there hadn't been any contact like that might have just said no, but that was not Mike Pence's first instinct. He did eventually get around to no, but he had to run around the block a few times and dodge it first.
I'm asking you a direct question. Was there any contact in any way between Trump or his associates and the Kremlin or cutouts they had?
I joined this campaign in the summer, and I can tell you that all the contact by the Trump campaign and associates was with the American people.
Whether there were any contacts, sir, I'm just trying to get an answer.
Yeah, of course not. Why would there be any contacts?
So he's got a different story to tell. He doesn't really want to answer it, but Chris Wallace presses him, and eventually he gets there. By later that same morning, Mike Pence got better at getting right to that answer.
Did any advisor or anybody in the Trump campaign have any contact with the Russians who were trying to meddle in the election?
Oh, of course not.
Right, go right to of course not. Now, the problem, of course, is that there were contacts between the Trump campaign and Russian officials during the campaign. There were multiple contacts, up to and including the meeting we only learned about this week, where the president's son and son-in-law and campaign chair all sought out damaging information on Clinton from a Kremlin-connected lawyer at Trump Tower after they were told explicitly that she represented the Russian government. No, there were no contacts. Yes, there were contacts. Mike Pence has also insisted, honestly, straight to the camera, that Mike Flynn did not talk to any Russian officials about sanctions, even though we now know that he did talk to Russian officials about sanctions. Mike Pence's explanation for that is that he was lied to. Mike Pence has also insisted, honestly, looking right into the camera, that he had no idea until after Mike Flynn was fired as National Security Advisor that Flynn had been on the payroll of a foreign country. That denial was very hard to believe because Mike Pence was head of the transition, and the transition was notified multiple times, including in writing, multiple times in multiple ways. They were told by multiple people about Mike Flynn taking foreign government paychecks. But now today, more from the Mike Pence side of this scandal. Fox News' Bill Hemmer asked the vice president's spokesman today, spokesman for Mike Pence, if Pence himself ever met with Russian officials. Now, this again is a yes or no question. Somebody whose boss definitely didn't meet with Russian officials could just say no, and they would move on. But that's not how it went.
Did the vice president ever meet with representatives from Russia?
The vice president is not focused on the areas where, on this campaign, especially things that happened before he was even on the ticket.
Just come back to this question. If it wasn't a private citizen from Russia, did he ever meet with representatives from the Russian government during the campaign?
Yeah, that's stuff that the special prosecutors and the counsels are all looking at.
Just to nail this down so we're clear, is that a yes or a no? Did he or did he not? And was it relevant, in fact?
I'm not aware of anything that I have seen.
His spokesman will not say no. Did Vice President Mike Pence meet with representatives of the Russian government? We don't know if the answer is yes or no, but we know his spokesman will not say no. Mike Pence is often regarded as less caught up in the unfolding Russia saga. I think it's because of the way he looks so meaningfully at the camera when he talks about it. But he really has made a number of blatantly false statements about the Trump-Russia connection thus far. And especially given what happened today on Fox News, of all places, credit to them. He should not be discounted in this scandal. Watch this space.
Hey there, I'm Chris Hayes from MSNBC. Thanks for watching MSNBC on YouTube. If you want to keep up to date with the videos we're putting out, you can click subscribe just below me, or click over on this list to see lots of other great videos.